Welcome to the Drive Able podcast. My name's Brad Williams and over there is Alleviate. Today we're talking about setting up a motorhome for disability and crossing the Nullarbor, and we're going to do that chatting with Lea-Anne Henderson. She's been through a big ordeal getting herself mobile and traveling, but she's now very mobile and independent, travels all over the place, across Australia, across the Nullarbor, up to Queensland. She travels all over the place. And I'm really interested to hearing about her story and what she's done to her motorhome to make that possible. Ali, are you excited for this one?
Yeah, very much so. As someone who loves the road trips, I'm keen to hear about the stories and where she's been and what's going on.
Let's get into it.
Sounds good.
Welcome to the Drive Able podcast, where each episode you get to listen to two of Australia's leading professionals in the area of driving and community mobility for people with disabilities. In each episode, they interview drivers, carers, and industry experts and share the insider's guide to driving with a disability. Here are your hosts, Brad and Ollie.
Hi everyone, I am really excited to get into today's interview, but before we get started, we just wanted to do a quick shout out to our sponsors who make this show possible, Mobility Engineering and Williams OT. This show takes time and money to put together, and we are forever grateful to their passion for our industry. Okay, enough of the business, let's get on with the interview. So today we have Lea-Anne Henderson joining us. G'day, Lea-Anne, how are you going? And can we start by asking you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a bit about your disability or ability and how you came about it.
Hi everyone. I am nobody special. Just anybody who's trying to get on with life. I am a wheelchair user. I became disabled 2000 was the start of it, but 2010 was when I went into a wheelchair. I suffer a lot of chronic pain, and that's about it. I just still trying to get on with life, doing what I do.
We want to thank you for today. You let us know that you're actually involved in someone hit you from behind on a highway just over the weekend. So you're that back pain is aggravated at the moment. We really thank you for taking the time to chat to us today, considering what you've been through. But can you unpack what happened? How did you get into a wheelchair in that 2010? What's actually the diagnosis as well?
The diagnosis is difficult, but what happened was way back in 1999, I started getting a lot of back pain and did the usual and ignored it. That sort of thing. So anyway, when it got too bad to ignore, I had some spinal fusions done, none of which worked particularly well. I ended up with a lot of nerve damage, and final surgery in 2010 was the last one that went wrong, that put me into a wheelchair.
So throughout that sounds pretty tough, I guess. And throughout that process, since we're talking about the driving side of things, were you driving before that? And how did that affect your driving between like 99 and 2010? And did you stop driving and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I never actually stopped driving. I pretty much lost the functionality. It's still usable, but I've lost a lot of functionality in my left leg, so I can't weight bear on it. I've still got some limited mobility with crutches to transfer and stuff like that, but I basically don't walk anymore. My right leg is not reliable. It gives way on me, so that's why the wheelchair happens. And so from 2000 onwards, I had to drive an automatic car so that I didn't have to use my left leg, because there's just too much pain to use a clutch. Mm-hmm. So I've never had to stop driving. I've been in hospital for extended periods of time, but I can always pick up and drive again when I feel able.
Were you doing driving manual before that?
I think at that stage, had a family car. We'd just gone down to one car, and it happened to be an automatic. But before that, yes, I was driving a manual car.
When you're driving with your right leg, when you're in a seated position and the leg's supported, that's able to do it the accelerator and the brake with no worries. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a really short person. I'm only 5'2", so I have to have the seat right forward. And even then, I can't do the normal thing where you swivel, leave your heel down and swivel from side to side. I totally pick up the leg and move it over to the brake and then back to the accelerator. So that's still how I drive. Hence, I do an actual lot of driving on cruise control wherever possible. It just makes it so much easier for me.
People will be asking why we're having a chat to you today if you're able to drive a standard automatic. And that's what we're going to get into next. You've done some fancy adaptions to help you travel around the place, and that's what we want to talk about. So you're not restricted in any ways in regards to travel. What have you done to be able to get out and about?
Well, I had a cargo van fitted out into a motorhome, and I have a whole slew of disability mods in that so that I can travel by myself. And it has to be able to carry my wheelchair, it has to be able to charge my wheelchair, as well as all the normal motorhome functions. I've got special shower stuff, so I've still got a seat in the shower. I've got grab rails everywhere throughout the motorhome. I've got everything that I would have at home, well, almost, to be able to travel.
Let's get into it a little bit. Let's start from the start. How do you get into the motorhome? How do you get up onto the level that you need to?
I have electric steps that pop out every time I open a door. They just pop out, and then I'm on crutches, so I slowly and gingerly transfer my weight onto my right leg, and then with the crutches, that's how I get in.
And once you're in, do you use your wheelchair inside the van?
No.
So
it's like just a big cargo van. It's like one of the big sprinters. It's not actually a sprinter, it's a VW, so go VW, it's an awesome van. So to try and get around either in a manual chair or a power chair inside that, there just isn't room. Not when you've got that being your entire living space and all your furniture and all your cooking and your bathroom and everything, just not room. But with the limited functionality and the crutches, I'm able to transfer from seat to seat, etc., inside.
Awesome. So you're using your arms to move around, like
yes,
to grab
very much so.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds pretty good.
So talk to us about your bathroom setup, because you said that you had a shower and a toilet and all those type of things. And it started from a flat cargo van. So you haven't converted a motorhome. You've actually built all of your own things. So let's have a bit of a chat about how you get in and about your own bathroom toilet scenario.
Okay, well, it's what would be a fairly standard bathroom in a motorhome. Well, in a small motorhome, the bathroom and the shower toilet are all in one cubicle area, which I do need crutches to move into. But from there, I've got a fold down seat that goes over the toilet, so that I can just operate the shower there. I've got grab rails inside that shower cubicle to help me move my body around. I've got the handheld all fixed shower attachment. So it's just like being at home, Yeah,
that sounds really good. And when you get to locations where you're at, do you so like, I guess when you're on a motorhome, the thought process I have is you're traveling to somewhat remote locations, and some places may not be as friendly to be operating around with your wheelchair. So do you always take a wheelchair, or do you have any other mobility devices? Or
always take the wheelchair. I'm very lucky. I have a Magic 360 wheelchair.
I got a Magic Mobility, yeah.
Which is, I wouldn't say it's off-road capable, but it does deal with rougher terrain, so I can get more places in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how,
We had a lady here as well, Leonie. She had the magic mobility. I watch her on Instagram. She goes to all these funky places off road, and she pushes hers really to the limits, I think. But
It's really good, but I'm a person who's traveling by myself most of the
yeah.
time, and if I'm stuck, that's really scary. So I don't really push it because I'm by myself.
So the magic mobility is a quite a heavy wheelchair. How are you getting it in and out of the van?
It's with a Joey lift, and you'd know the Joey lift because it was your company that installed it in my van.
Yeah.
So it can take up to 186 kilos.
Yeah. And so the platform just comes out, drops down, and you just sort of climb around to it, or like kind of support yourself getting to it and sit on the chair and go from there.
Yeah, that's it.
How it works.
Crutches from the driver's seat out to the rear cargo doors. Open those rear cargo doors. Then the remote control for the Joey lift is magnetic, so it just sticks up on the wall at the side. I pull it down and press the down button. The Joey comes out and down. I sit in the wheelchair, drive it off the platform. That way.
And when you when you started this process, so I just want to confirm and clarify, this motorhome, did you design the layout yourself?
In combination with some RV fit out specialists.
Yep.
They're called Van Gogh. They're in Sydney,
Yep.
and I can't recommend them highly enough. They are awesome. So it was a collaborative thing. I said to them at the start, this is what I need inside the van. They came up with layouts. We worked around and tweaked and got everything that the way I needed it to be for it to be functional for me.
Yeah, so just to give people listening a little bit of a visual description, the Joey lift is like a platform that comes out of the back of the vehicle. So you would open the sort of the barn door type thing of the back of a commercial van, and this platform just drops down onto the ground, comes out, drops onto the ground, and you can drive your scooter on and off the platform. So that gives you a bit of a perspective of, I guess, how the setup would be inside the van. And for you to get, can you actually get, you can't access the van though from the back. You still have to come around the side. That's correct,
yes,
right?
That's correct. I have got some stuff in the back packed around the Joey lift because motorhomes, you need to utilize every little spot that you've got for storage because there's always something else you'd like to pack.
Yeah.
Well, I actually just in January did an RV trip across the country with my two kids and wife, and yeah, you need a lot of space. You fill those things up very quickly. So, and it's cupboard space is very valuable real estate. So, what about the funding? Did you get any funding for this through NDIS?
No, not for this.
No?
Not for this. I happened to sell part of my house to my daughter, so she's bought into the house, and that released enough funds for me to buy the van and then get it fitted out. There was nothing extra. It was an expensive process, but I needed it done the way I needed it done because there's just nothing out there I can buy that's ready-made that suits what I need.
Yeah, that sounds good. And is there a reason why there wasn't any funding involved? Like, is there not eligible, or it just wasn't like?
I didn't ask, to be perfectly frank. I just assumed that as they had paid for modifications to my car, that they would be done. They'd say, no, we've done that for you. You're good.
Okay. And is so you are on NDIS and you have got other modifications?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just to, even though this is not the main topic, just a quick side note, what modifications do you have on your car to help you?
Okay, so my car has an automatic ramp and an automatic dock. Okay. So I don't have to do tie downs because bending over with legs that are unreliable is totally a nightmare.
Yeah.
And having to bend down to pick up a ramp to get it up and in, and it's all too problematic. So all I have to do is push buttons. Yep. And then I have an attendant controller unit for my wheelchair. So it's just like a remote control to drive the wheelchair in and out while I'm just briefly standing on crutches.
Okay, well that's pretty good. So you don't drive from the wheelchair. You just bring it in, dock it in, then you just transfer, go sit on the chair.
Yeah, the whole point of the exercise was I don't want to lose what little functionality I have. And if I stop using my legs, I will stop having the ability to use my legs.
Can
I
I
love
ask?
that you said that.
Can I ask what car that's actually gone into? What car have you got the ramp?
It's a Kia Soul. Kia Soul. It's a small car. And I personally like small cars to get around in, and generally it's only me and one passenger, so it works just fine.
That would only just fit your Magic Mobility 360 in. Would that? Am I right in guessing that?
It fits without the headrest.
Yeah.
So what I do is I actually just unclip the top clips of the backrest and just flip the whole thing forward. That's easier for me than trying to take out the headrest and put it in each time, because I also have carpal tunnel, which makes my hands very painful to use.
Gives you a bit more view out the back as well, I'm assuming, through your rear vision mirror.
Yeah, but when I had the Quickie QM710 in there, which took the headrest and everything, I got used to driving and looking around the headrest. So it really isn't an issue. It doesn't take up a lot of room.
You sound like a resilient and adaptable person, Lea-Anne. It's very nice to hear.
Oh, thank you. You got to do what you got to do to make your life work, right?
Yeah. No, it's good, and I'm really glad that we have you on here, because it's great to just have people speaking like this to share that message across the community. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I did it myself and I've got a bit of a personal interest as well. We've heard that you did the cross of the Nullarbor. So this is actually how I came into knowing a little bit more about what you're doing, is because I was crossing the Nullarbor and pasting all the photos all over social media, and then my brother, who you worked with, approached me and said, well, why don't you talk to this person, because she's also done the same thing. And I was like, oh, that sounds pretty awesome. And I was just, high on life of having crossed the beautiful Nullarbor, and it was just such a great experience. And I guess I wanted to unpack that a little bit about you. So when and your trip. So when you did the conversion, was your idea around doing this Nullarbor trip, or did this just come up afterwards? Because it's a bit of a, I guess, Aussie rite of passage, crossing the Nullarbor.
My idea when I converted the van was just to be able to pick up and go whenever I felt well enough to do it. Wherever I felt like going, wherever the wind blew me, that's what I wanted to do. So I'm totally off-grid capable, so I can do that. And that is awesome. So I had never been to Western Australia before. So I had a big trip from here in Newcastle over into South Australia, did Coober Pedy, came up to Uluru, which I also had on the bucket list. I'd never been to Uluru before, so that was pretty awesome.
Was it good?
Yeah, loved it. Just loved it. The colors, you can't believe the colors. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So then I came up to as far as Catherine, because I'd been to Broome before, stopped at all the places along the way. Up to Catherine, across to Broome, all down the west coast. Love Western Australia, it's so scenic. And then back across the Nullarbor to South Australia and down into the Eyre Peninsula, which is my favourite place on earth, I have to say. The Eyre Peninsula is just so awesome.
Yeah.
As a South Australian, I can put my hand up and say, that Eyre Peninsula from Ceduna to down to Port Lincoln and Coffin Bay and Tumby Bay, and they're just picture postcards after another. Every single bay is just gorgeous.
Absolutely. It gives you the 5-star view for nothing.
Yeah.
I can't get down onto the beach, obviously, and so I can't go swimming in the water, but I can look out on it and I can see those pods of dolphin come in and play in the breakers. And if anybody else happens to be there, they're out there swimming with the dolphins. And this is an experience that you just can't buy. Well, maybe you can buy it, but getting it free is so much better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things I wanted to ask was, what was it like, I guess, being a solo disabled traveler? Like, for example, or just having limited mobility. What I found particularly, and I don't know, in these other places you've spoken about, I think you might also have similar issues, but like when I was a little story I'll explain just to give people context was we were at the Nullarbor Roadhouse and we were in our self-sufficient van and showering and using water like it was no tomorrow. Finished the water and I was like, oh, it's all right. I'll just go fill it up. And then I'll go to the fill up the water. I was like, oh, where's your water tap? And the lady's like, we're in the desert, mate. There's no water. And I'm like, oh, crap. So we had no water for 2 days. We were just showering out of bottled water. And that was a hard lesson to learn because she was like, you're 2 days from water, you know? So yeah, what kind of challenges did you have? Did you have anything like that?
No, I went prepared, Ali. There's a little app called Wikicamps that is an awesome app. And so if you look at where you're going, it will tell you where you can get water from. So you just be prepared before you go. So the paid app was like about $8 or something or other. And it's awesome. It tells me where I can camp. It tells me what facilities are there. It tells me whether because people who use the app also review the campsites. They say, don't go here, it's impassable at the moment because of the wet weather, or we thought this place was great. It's got picnic tables, it's got loos, it's got bins, whatever. A lot of campsites don't have rubbish bins. But water is a big one, especially through Western Australia and South Australia. You need to know where you can get water from. I found places like Seduna awesome. You go to their thing and you pay $1 or $2 and you fill up your tank. I just wish more towns actually had something like that. We don't mind paying for water. We don't expect to get free water at places. But I also don't like paying for campsites. I'm a pensioner, so paying for campsites and caravan parks is just too expensive. I need to do it cheaply. Diesel is expensive, so Wikicamps at $8 and be prepared.
Yeah. That sounds really good. So,
Ali, you asked another question just there. Yeah. How were you received traveling around Australia with a disability in a wheelchair? Talk to us about that experience.
Most people are fabulous. I was camping at a campground in the Northern Territory. It was outside Alice at a gorge, and a couple of other really young fellas in their 20s were also camping there. And one of them looked down and said to me, you've got some wires hanging down under your motorhome. I said, no, I can't get down there. And he said, leave it to me. And he got down there with some cable ties, and he just, in the dirt, cable tied up these wires so they weren't hanging down. So that's awesome. So most people are really good. Then you get the people that ignore the signs on the back of your van and don't give you the 3 metre space that you need to get your chair in and out. And I find that really frustrating. If I'm out and about and I come back to the van and I've been parked in, I'm a bit miffed, can I say, because I can't get in, I can't do anything, I can't access my crutches because I leave my crutches on the Joey lift when I take the wheelchair out. So I'm just stuck until they decide to come back from whatever they've been doing.
And how do they react when they see you in your wheelchair when they get back?
Most of the time, they're extremely unapologetic and dismissive.
Right? Yeah.
Most of the time.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
So where, like you've explained it, quite a lot of places you've been, which sounds really exciting. What's next on the bucket list?
I'm looking forward to get back to South Australia. I really, really am in love with South Australia.
Come and see us.
Place that I'm sorry.
Come and see us at Williams OT, and we can take those photos for you. I'd love to have a look at
I'm not traveling again for a few months. So I'm a netball nut, and it's netball seasons, and I don't watch TV. So the only time I get to see it is live.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome.
So you go around watching it at the moment?
I do. I support our New South Wales teams, so I go down and volunteer at the games each week, and then I watch the netball. That's actually how I got rear-ended. It was going down on one of the games on the weekend.
Yeah. So you said you volunteer for netball. That's really awesome. So what do you do there?
Generally, it's sort of Uh, a very tiny little bit of admin. I look after some accreditations early on in my volunteering shift, and then I get on with a fan engagement type of thing. I give out stuff, I answer questions, just generally do whatever they ask me to do.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, one thing which I'm interested to hear what you think about this that comes to mind is we've interviewed a lot of people that are involved in these sporting communities, and it seems to be a really really great way to, first of all, to be honest, manage your mental health, because you've got great communities that you can be a part of and you feel useful, and everyone needs the help, and so on. So I guess, what do you think about that?
100% agree. I think mental health is a major struggle for most of us with a disability. We suffer so much discrimination, and I admit a lot of it is unintended discrimination, but it is discrimination nonetheless, and we feel it, and it hurts. So being able to get out and about with people just that accept you as a person rather than see the wheelchair is awesome. Um, I also ride a hand cycle here in Newcastle, so that's my exercise, and I'm out and about getting exercise. It's also a social thing out there in the fresh air and the greenery. And mental health management is, I think, more difficult than physical management.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
But
That
Lea-Anne,
sounds pretty good.
you're an advocate for people with disabilities. I can see that, and I'd love to chat to you for longer about all kinds of things. But we've reached our little. We try to keep it to 20-minute chats, and we've gone way over that, like we always do. So we should really extend it out to 30 minutes, because we never are able to keep to 20 minutes. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Before we wind up, we got one more question to ask you. But and I'm really excited to actually ask you about this question. But before we do, we just want to do another quick shout out to Williams OT and Mobility Engineering that have brought Lea-Anne to you today, which make the podcast possible. So, Lea-Anne, we've learnt that cars are more than just getting from A to B, and you've told us that it's about getting out and about and enjoying life. But is there a specific place or a specific memory that you've got that just stands out that you haven't shared with us already?
There is. Now, it comes back to me being a netball nut.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time I travelled solo was in my car, not my motorhome. And I travelled up to Queensland for the netball grand final for our team, the New South Wales Swifts, to win the grand final in the netball. And I had not travelled solo before that, but my car made it possible.
Yeah, that's
fantastic, awesome. That's right, and that's why Ali and I are in this, because we love our cars, and we love traveling. You heard from Ali; he's been across the Nullarbor in the motorhome with the family and so forth. And if you follow me at all, you always see us with the caravan going all over the place. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. So it's fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. What Ali and I do now, like we do in every episode, we're going to do our top 3 takeaways. It's going to be hard to keep it to 3, I think. But stick around, everybody. We're going to say goodbye to Lea-Anne, but everybody else, stick around, because we're going to do our top 3 takeaways. Lea-Anne, thank you very much for your time today.
Most welcome. Thanks for the talk.
All right, welcome back. In this section, we bring you our expert analysis and top 3 takeaways from the interview that we've just done with Lea-Anne. This is where Ali and I provide more than 30 years of joint experience in the industry, helping people with disabilities to drive and get out in the community in a safe and meaningful way. And boy, what a conversation we had today. That was great. That really highlights getting out and about in the community. So, Ali, what's your first takeaway that you've got for us from the chat that we've had with Lea-Anne?
The first takeaway, which before I mention that, I just want a little shout out to Lea-Anne, because right now after the interview, I'm actually feeling very, very positive and inspired. She just gave such a great feeling around that, and her attitude was just so good. And this is, I guess, leads on to that first lesson, which was when we were asking her a little bit and probing about, oh, what products do you have, and do you have this aid and so on, because we're living in that world, and she was kind of pushing it back a little bit and saying, well, I use my functionalities of my body until they're basically gone, and that was something around those lines, and I thought that was really, really good, because it's kind of like use it or lose it type thing, and that's it's a common theme we've heard from other people as well that are a bit more, we try and highlight the people on this podcast that have had, I guess, successful outcomes. And that is one of the common themes, is just keep using the functionalities where you can and provide little bits of assistance, in and around that.
Yeah, I mean, she talks about using her crutches to get from the front door, the driver's door, to the back door, to be able to get her wheelchair out and about. She's got an attendant control on her wheelchair, so she's not riding her wheelchair into the car. And what it really allows her to do is have a little bit more freedom to be able to utilize more standard controls. And I guess that leads us on to the second point, is utilize some of the controls that you've already got in your car to be able to maximize function. We wanted to talk about cruise control. Ali, did you want to chat about that?
Yeah, so Lea-Anne mentioned that, I guess, cruise control is a huge feature of her driving. And when she was mentioning that, I was thinking this is a really good way to, I guess, introduce people into things like tech and, technology in cars and things like that. And whilst it's not a piece of assistive tech, it's kind of like that step towards it, and rather than going fully all in, if you don't need to, I guess I was thinking these modern cars, like my car, as we spoke offline, has got so many great technological features that, again, they don't change and replace the AT, but what they do is they provide a lot of fatigue management and a lot of assistance, just to help you drive longer. You've got lane assist, you've got auto drive stuff and auto steering and, automatic distances, keeping from different cars and cruise control. So the cruise control, I thought it was great. But at the same time, I also thought, there's a lot of electronics in these cars and they're great to use. So maybe get to know them and use them.
Just to talk about it from an OT point of view and a safety point of view, for doing assessments in regards to driving ability and driving safety, we can't rely on them. Okay, it's an added feature to help reduce fatigue, help reduce pain. I mean, that's what it's there for, to start off with in the cars, is to help people be able to drive in more comfort. So why not use it for your disability as well? But that's what it's there for. I mean, I drive, like we were saying, over to the Eyre Peninsula for work, 8-hour drive from Adelaide. That's really fatiguing on the back if you're using your foot on the accelerator and the brake the whole way. Cruise control has changed my life in regards to being able to drive long distances for work. But it's an add-on, okay? It doesn't replace the safety of using the pedals in the first place. And, those emergency stops, being able to get your foot from the accelerator to the brake in an emergency situation is still vital. So it doesn't replace, it just enhances. That's really important to note.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that takes us to the third point. And sorry if there was a little cut. We had a bit of a technical difficulty there, but we are now on to point number 3. And point number 3, or takeaway number 3, which I thought was really, really handy, was the hot tip of the $8 WikiCamps app. And as I was saying in the podcast, myself being someone who did spend a good month on the road in some pretty remote places, I didn't have that app. And I guess I wish I did now, because there was many places where we ended up with no water or couldn't find a camp, and we ended up just sleeping on the side of the road or stressing where we're going to camp. And the one great thing that she mentioned in there is there's reviews, and it talks about the facilities within that within those campsites. And particularly as someone who might have limited mobility or disabilities, you really want to know what facilities are there, so you can camp there, because it could mean that you have to keep driving to the next place. So I thought that was a really, really good tip, the WikiCamps app.
Yeah, and the last little thing that I want to add into our top 3 takeaways is there are adaptions out there to make it possible. 100%. So disability shouldn't really stand in your way. Yeah, it might make it more difficult to actually find the right campsite. And yeah, you need an adapted van to be able to house the wheelchair in and have the rails in the right place and have everything in a place where you can access it. But if you've got the funds to be able to purchase a van and get it decked out in the way that you want, Australia's open to you, isn't it? And Lea-Anne is really showing us that, and I wish her all the very best for the future.
Yeah, and look, Lea-Anne also mentioned it, and I've experienced it myself. Get out there and get exploring the campsite culture, and people out and about are really nice and helpful, and you'll never have an issue. You know, people are out and about, and they'll help you wherever they can. You know, I had a few issues and some funny stories, and yeah, lots of people always came to help me. So yeah.
If you ever pull up behind somebody and look out for a disability sticker parking 3 meters away, please respect that. We heard that from Lea-Anne. Please respect that and keep that 3 meter distance. 3 meters is actually the minimum that somebody really requires to be able to drive their wheelchair on and off of ramps. It is and it's a longer distance than what you actually probably recognize when you're in your front seat of your car parking behind somebody. Step it out and take 3 massive strides and actually realize that that's a big way. And you know, for somebody sitting in their wheelchair waiting for somebody to come back and never knowing when they're going to come back, that can really be a big problem for them in Australia in 40-degree weather, or you know, really humid or pouring rain. Yeah, it's just a bit of respect. All right. That's enough of my little rant. That's
Our
it.
passion is coming out now, so we're going to wind this up. And as we wind it up, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Mobility Engineering and Williams OT, for helping us bring you the interview with Lea-Anne today. Williams OT, driver and rehab is all pieces of the puzzle to assist people with disabilities reach their driving and mobility goals. And Mobility Engineering is a team of passionate and dedicated people focused on bringing Australia's largest range of suitable transport solutions for all walks of life. If you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, know someone we should interview, or want to leave us a comment or question, or just want to consider sponsoring or do anything, contact us. Hit us up at drivablepodcast@gmail.com, or any of the contact pages where we are. Just send us a message and we'll find you. And as we say in every episode, the advice provided in this podcast is general in nature. So if you have any queries about what you can do and what will provide, what will work for you, you've got to get in contact with your local OT or mobility dealer and set yourself up with a trial. And like we always say, trials really do put you in that driver's seat. So we'll see you next time, Brad. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. I'm excited to actually go out and travel again now, just based on that. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you out and about on the road.
Yeah, very inspiring. So yeah, thanks very much.
See you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Drive Able podcast with Brad Williams and Lea-Anne Henderson. If you like what you've heard, make sure you like, rate and subscribe. It really does make a massive difference. If you or anyone you know would like to share a story about driving with a disability, or you would like to get in contact, find the show notes, or find the resources mentioned in this episode, you can find us on Facebook. Just search @Drive Able Podcast for more information.